Hey everyone, today's show is brought to you by footballhall.com, the absolute best subscription box you can possibly get. Go to footballhall.com, check out their exclusive deal. You can enter the promo code BALLERS5 and you get a box jam-packed with NFL gear. You've got McFarlane's, you've got bobbleheads, you've got gear specific to your favorite team, and now they've introduced the Football Hall Junior for just $19.99. You have to check it out, and don't forget to use our promo code BALLERS5. That's footballhall.com, footballhall.com.
This is Nick Mangold of the New York Jets, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to football.
Yo.
It's September, baby.
Andy was doing the hula.
Something like it. It was a post-touchdown celebration dance.
Oh, okay.
Because it is the month of football. It is September, and we are back. The Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
How many days until the first game?
Well, today's the first, and the first game is on the 8th. So next week, when we are on the show, we will be
It's a week from
barely
today.
able to speak due to excitement. Welcome to the podcast. Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, Mike Wright, back again. Have a great episode for you today. It truly is a spectacular one. We have our bold predictions for 2016.
If you're wearing loose clothing or you have anything that is extremely flammable,
Sure.
please do the appropriate and responsible thing. Step aside.
Right.
Leave it next to you because you may spontaneously combust.
Right.
Because
Take your cell phone out of your pocket.
It could blow up batteries.
Loose change. Take it out.
You don't want to melt it.
Yeah.
Because we're bringing the hot takes.
I guess I thought this was an MRI episode. That's what that became. So we've got our bold predictions on the show today. We're going to break out the news, and we've got our debate, our Fandings.com debate of the week, as we do every Thursday. Jason and myself will face off on this one. I'm sure that I'll make a ridiculously bold prediction that I'm going to win the debate.
Ooh, that is ridiculously bold. I think everybody listening is like,
whoa.
whoa.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Don't forget to check us out on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com, where you can submit your questions to the show, and we love to help you out. Check us out on Twitter at the FFBallers, and, of course, join thefoot.com, our fantasy football community. Without further ado, let's get into the debate.
It's time for the Fandings.com Debate of the Week.
All right, today's Fandings.com Debate of the Week. Simple question. Will Josh Gordon be a bust in 2016? Will Josh Gordon be a bust in 2016? I'm going to start this one off, and I'm going to say no. No, he will not. Josh Gordon will not be a bust in 2016, and I'm going to tell you why. He got an opportunity to play in this preseason. He gets the opportunity to sit in meetings. He gets the opportunity to do everything but practice his first 4 weeks, and Josh Gordon is an elite talent. You cannot go out like in 2013 and put up 89 receptions for 1,600-plus yards, 9 touchdowns, do the things that he did. Multiple 200-plus, 250-plus yard games. We all barely remember it. It's our minds are a bit smoky.
He was amazing.
We have to fight through the smoke and find those numbers. And I realize he struggled a little bit at the end of the year the next year. But you're talking about the Browns, the carousel of quarterback situation there, and yet you've got a deep ball thrower in Robert Griffin III. He's the best talent on the offense. We're not going to joke around and say that Terrell Pryor, the human 9 route, is a better wide receiver than Josh Gordon.
Human 9 route.
That's right.
Great.
And Corey Coleman's a rookie. So I think as soon as Josh Gordon gets in there, you mix that with the draft value, I think you're going to see production out of Josh Gordon because he's a big target. He's a great target. I say no, he's not going to be a bust in 2016. What say you, Jason?
I say he is going to be a bust in 2016, and here's why. Josh Gordon is living on 2013 karma. That year I will give you. I mean, he was amazing. He missed 2 games, and he finishes the number 1 wide receiver. So can Josh Gordon be a fantasy superstar? We already know the answer. It's yes. But that's the problem, is that people already think he's going to be a fantasy superstar, and so you're taking him so early. Do you know where Josh Gordon's going right now? Eighth round?
No, probably the 5th.
Yeah, there you go. 5th round. So when I say he's a bust, I say he's going right behind Julian Edelman and right ahead of Michael Floyd. You want to know what's great about Michael Floyd? He's playing the first 4 games of the season. So you're going to take a guy who has to sit on your bench on the hopes that he plays like he did in 2013, which was, I guess it was only, he's only played 5 games since then.
For the sake of debate, let me ask you this.
All right.
If people are really basing it on 2013, why would he go in the 5th round?
Because he's missing 4 games. They're thinking they're going to get the 2013 wide receiver.
That's what 5th round means?
Absolutely.
So if you knew for sure, Mike, that Josh Gordon for the last 12 games was going to give you 2013's numbers, would you draft him in the 5th or would you draft him in the 3rd?
If I knew for sure,
yeah,
I would draft him in the 3rd.
All right.
If I knew for sure.
I don't believe that's
true.
But
I don't, and that's what we're debating.
I don't even believe that's true. I mean, in the 3rd round, there are Sammy Watkins and Demaryius Thomas and Alshon Jeffrey, guys who can finish. All those guys could finish in the top 5, and they're playing 14 games. You're not going to take them
14. You're giving
everyone suspended.
2 injuries.
But my point is that, and then if you look at 2014. When Josh Gordon, came in and was one of the highest picks in the league, he didn't play that well, and that was when. I mean, here's his last 3 games of that season. This is before.
Well, he only played like 5 games of that season.
Played 5 games that season. Had 24 receptions for 300 yards and a whopping 0 touchdowns in those 5 games. And that was when he was the only target in town. Corey Coleman, Tyler Boyd.
All right.
Gary Barnidge.
Look, Mike has
Tyler
heard it.
Boyd.
Yeah.
Did I say Tyler Boyd?
You did. Did he get traded?
Terrell Pryor.
There we go.
Mike, I think I know your answer already, but go ahead and give your verdict.
I'm going to have to give the verdicts. I heard some compelling arguments from both sides. I think where I'm swayed is the point of him going in the 5th round of, like if we knew that he was going to be great, he would go in the 3rd, and Jason's saying no, except we have Le'Veon Bell, who's suspended for 3 games going in the 1st round. So people are not scared of suspensions, because an elite player is an elite player, changes everything. I'm going to have to go with the argument of Josh Gordon will not be a bust.
Will not be a bust.
Will not be a bust.
All right.
I have to award it to Andy.
I did not expect that at all.
Our first ridiculously bold prediction of this show has already come true.
All right, look. This exact question, you can go debate this on the Fandings.com app.
Yeah, go on there and
check it
say
out.
Who really won, because we'll put that on that app, and then you can say that Jason won.
People will actually vote when you contribute to this debate. So head over to the App Store, grab the Fandings app. It's completely free, and when you sign up, make sure you use the code FOOTBALLERS. Check that out, Fandings.com. Let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, pretty significant news coming out nowadays because we are going to be starting players each and every week on our lineup. Oh, here we go. All right, Amir Abdullah. Yeah, Amir Abdullah himself expects to get the majority of carries.
Well, that's
along with every running back in history. But let's hypothesize.
There's no way that Theo Riddick expects to get the majority of the carries.
This is Amir Abdullah's ridiculously bold prediction. He said he's going to get all the carries. Let's pretend he does. What does it really mean for fantasy owners?
I think it means extraordinary value because he's been injured, because he hasn't been playing, and because he stunk last year. Absolutely, because where he's going in the draft right now is like late 7th round. The running backs that you're choosing there, I mean, Derrick Henry's going ahead of him, right? Guys that aren't starters don't get the chance to be that guy. The only other starter.
Is he going to get into the end zone, though, even if he starts and runs the ball?
Well, he's a great pass-catching back, and I know Theo Riddick plays that role, but if he
probably the best.
You're saying he's the
I'm saying Theo Riddick is the top 3 pass-catching back, maybe number 1. Last year he caught the most.
Yeah, I think that Amir Abdullah, if he's involved, he has the opportunity to be a strong player. If you look at his performance last year, he was still over 4 yards a carry. He performed pretty good. I will give you this. they're just not a great team for running backs in general. But if he ends up taking over more of that pass-catching role, I think he could provide a value for where he's going in the draft right now.
He's going, or actually he's tied ADP-wise with Duke Johnson.
I don't think it's even realistic to say he's going to take over any of the passing down role. I think that's the most.
Well,
I think it's almost an impossibility with Theo Riddick healthy because of the pass. He's the best. I mean, Riddick is the protector.
Sure.
And
I'm not saying he's going to take over the passing downs role, but if he can get more involved in the actual passing game on first and second down.
Okay.
The thing that helps him with that, just throwing this out there, is the fact that it's a no-huddle offense.
Yes.
So if Amir Abdullah is out there, when they get to third down,
go.
when they get in the red zone, they're not going to say, okay, Theo, go in. They're going to keep rolling with Amir Abdullah.
Fair enough. All right. Coach Pete Carroll has said a couple things here about his injured players, Thomas Rawls, Jimmy Graham. He says that Rawls, there's no question that he'll play in the season opener. And then a reporter out of Seattle said there's no question he's the starter as well. There's never been a debate, never been a question. I tend to agree with that. It's just a matter of will Rawls be able to produce at the level of last year right after coming off the injury and not having that many reps.
In practice, he's been the starter.
Yep.
I mean, he's playing full pads, full 11 on 11. He is the starter, but then they rest him in the preseason. That sounds good to me.
Pete Carroll said Jimmy Graham's week 1 status will be determined late next week.
No,
Yeah.
it won't.
Hey, Mike, any predictions on Jimmy Graham's week 1 status?
Well, I hear that Jimmy Graham's been taking on a strong defense. He's been taking on the air. That was the quote I read out of Seattle camp, that he is taking on the defenders of nobody.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Jimmy Graham does not play week 1.
Ridiculously easy prediction of the week. Jimmy Graham does not play week 1.
Boston Herald's Jeff Howe is, quote, still not convinced Tyler Gaffney will even make the Patriots' 53-man roster.
LeGarrette Blount is happy.
That would be great news. I don't buy it.
Speaking on SiriusXM Fantasy, ESPN Chiefs reporter Adam Teicher suggested Jamaal Charles might not play week 1.
Yeah, here we go. Now we're into the news. This is
troublesome.
Yeah, this is absolutely gross. This puts, just even with this rain cloud up in the air, this puts Spencer Ware on. You have to draft him, at least somewhere. And I'm not throwing the towel in on Jamaal Charles. Look, Le'Veon Bell is, like I said, he's still a first-round guy. We know he's going to miss 3 games. If Jamaal Charles if we knew he was going to miss 3 games, Jamaal Charles he's still like a second-round pick to me. That's the level of talent I believe in Jamaal Charles. So I'm not jumping ship, but this is really crappy news. And if Ware is available, go pick him up immediately.
That's a good take, Mike.
Yeah, some of the worst news about this to me was reading some of the quotes from Jamaal Charles. Him talking about the fact that the doctors told him it was completely different than the last one. The rehab has to be different. Everything's going to be different, and it seems like he's behind schedule. If you look at the fact that Jordy Nelson, he had his injury early last year. Preseason early before that, and Jamaal Charles had his 5 games into the year, and now Jordy's kind of getting back. It seems like this worries me, and for me. I moved him to RB 13. I'm still comfortable with him right there. But if you wanted to take some of the guys that are, 13th or 14th ranked that I still like ahead of him, I wouldn't blame anybody.
That's been my advice on Twitter the last couple of days. Is pretty much like, well, I'd still say he belongs up there, but I'd rather draft someone else.
Yeah.
So, Redskins undrafted free agent Rob Kelly rushed 16 for 99 last night in the final preseason game. Obviously, we don't have I don't want to put too much stock into that performance. However, he has locked up that backup role to Matt Jones, and Matt Jones's leash may be short if he fumbles or struggles. I think Rob Kelly, to me, if I'm a Matt Jones owner, I am 100% taking Rob Kelly with my last pick, or one of my last 2 picks.
Yeah, I'm
just going to let it settle a little bit in Washington.
I talk about I don't really like drafting a handcuff in the draft. I like to pick him up later. But Matt Jones is hurt. Matt Jones does not have a secure job. If, like Andy's saying, if he goes out, maybe he does play week 1. If he goes out and he stinks and he fumbles, Rob Kelly is fine. Look, the talent level, Kelly can get it done, right? He's not a super flashy elite level talent, but he can grind it out.
He's got that Jason Moore 40 time.
He could do what Washington needs him to do, and which is hold on to the ball. So if Kelly is going to be a guy who can hold on and keep the security, then maybe he starts. It reminds me very much a couple years ago.
Shanahan.
Yeah, we got the Shanahan.
Shanahan and Anigans?
Yeah, that's what it was, the Shanahanigans. But everything pointed to somebody else. And then all of a sudden, right before week 1, there was this news. It sounds like Alfred Morris is going to start. And those who jumped on it early got a running back 1 for free.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Matt Jones, if you do that, to me, you lock up the backfield. And you let things settle the first 3 weeks. If Jones re-injures his shoulder, you've got a full-time starter. It might not be a high top-end guy, but whatever. Right. So that's the take. That's the news. So I think that's it for the news.
Yeah, that's it for the news. We are about to blow off your eyebrows with our hot takes. But we want to thank today's sponsor, Pristine Auction. Look, we're talking about Pristine Auction all the time because they are the best, because we love them. I personally love this site. I visit it nearly daily because they have daily auctions. They always have new stuff. They have the best sports memorabilia available on the internet. You can jump into auctions. You only pay for what you win. Look, if you want to jump on our YouTube, a look around the office, we got Jordan Reed up on the wall. We got a signed David Johnson helmet. We got to meet him. Pristine Auction held an event. They made this happen. So if you want something to spruce up your house, maybe your office is looking a little down in the dumps.
Yeah.
And you know that an autographed Amari Cooper jersey is going to make it pop, make it hot. You can get that done at Pristine Auction. That's Pristine auction.com. You go sign up for a free account, and you let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you.
All right, it's time, guys. Let's do it.
Ridiculously bold predictions for 2016.
All right. They're ridiculous for a reason. We wouldn't, we wouldn't bet our house on them.
They're not baked into our actual rankings, but we also kind of believe it could happen.
Yes. There's an argument for each one of these, and so we've selected. We've got 10 for you. We've got 10 ridiculously bold predictions for 2016. Who wants to go first?
You know I will.
All right.
Here's a bold prediction for you, and this is kind of a combo platter because they're tied at the hip. Kirk Cousins will finish the season as a top 5 quarterback because Jordan Reed will be the tight end 1 above Rob Gronkowski. And look, we love averaging numbers out sometimes. And if you take the final 3 games,
large sample set,
Kirk Cousins would have been on pace for 59 touchdowns.
Whoa!
Is that baked into your top 5 prediction?
Yes, 59.
59.
No, but look,
I like how that's top 5, but it's 59.
I'm just saying he was on pace for the last 3 games.
So Kirk Cousins, a top 5 quarterback, Jordan Reed, the number 1 tight end.
Look, Jordan Reed, weeks 3 through 17, he actually averaged the most points per game from the tight end position. We've seen that Kirk Cousins, when he has confidence, when he catches fire, he just tosses up touchdowns like nobody's business. That if you remember the final game, he played half. He played half a game, and he was a top 2 quarterback that week. He ended on just an absolutely ridiculous hot streak. We saw him in the preseason. Maybe it was against backups. He still threw 3 touchdowns. He's got DeSean Jackson back. Pierre Garçon looks healthy. And Jordan Reed is the key cog in this situation. And then, of course, my disdain for Matt Jones and not believing that the running game can get it done. So I'm telling you.
No soft tissue issues for Jordan Reed.
Well, they exist. I'm not going to ignore that. But
that he has soft tissues? Yeah. But you're look, number 1 tight ends, they don't have soft tissue issues.
No.
Soft tissue issues.
I'm going out on a limb here. I'm blowing it up. Kirk Cousins, top 5.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and rotate over to Mr. Moore himself.
Yeah.
Jason, give me one of your 3 ridiculously bold predictions.
All right. How's this for ridiculous bold? I was going to put in there that John Brown is going to be a wide receiver number 1, but I kind of covered that last week on my guys, so I changed it. Yesterday. So I changed it to this take. Ezekiel Elliott will not finish as the number 1 rookie running back in 2016.
Whoa.
Wow.
What?
Fire. Here's
right.
why. Because as far back as I can tell, I can't find the number one drafted rookie running back ever finishing as the number one rookie running back at the end of the year. I don't care if it was the super highly touted Ryan Matthews or the super highly touted Bishop Sankey or last year's Melvin Gordon, who went number one, or
you mean fantasy? Okay.
Yes, I mean fantasy.
Okay, I was like, because Gurley was the first running back in the draft,
right?
was,
but he
but
was
not
not the
fantasy.
first
Yes.
drafted. And so
Yes,
here we
okay.
go. We've got last year Todd Gurley finished as the number one. He was drafted as the number two. How about Jeremy Hill the year before? He was the 5th drafted running back overall.
Rookie.
And yes, rookie. And Le'Veon Bell finished number one. That seems like, well, duh, Le'Veon Bell, but he wasn't the first drafted rookie. He wasn't even the second drafted rookie. You had Eddie Lacy and Gio Bernard going ahead. How about even going back to 2012 where Trent Richardson was going to be the best, and he was drafted as the best. And you know what? He had a great rookie year. But remember what we just talked about with Alfred Morris? He was actually the number one rookie running back. I'm taking the field.
Wow.
Okay? I'm taking the field. Someone is going to step up every year. I mean, if you look back, every year there are superstar rookie running backs, but they're never pegged as the number one guy when you draft.
Ridiculously bold.
Fire!
That's pretty interesting, though. You went back in time there and gave us the rundown. He would be breaking a trend if he did it.
He sure would.
All right.
I expect him to. But
I'm going to give you one of mine here. Everybody loves Joe. Joe Cool.
Ooh.
Joe Flacco. I'm going to throw this out there. He's going to throw for a career high of 4,000 plus yards, and the Ravens are going to make the playoffs. Last year, we saw him go out at the end of the season. He played 10 games, but he was on pace. He was on pace for 4,400 plus yards last year. He's never thrown for more than 4,000 in his career. He had his highest completion percentage of his career last year. He averaged 41 attempts a game. This team was throwing the ball. And here's the thing. The ambiguity of the offense at the running back and the wide receiver position makes us underestimate the offense's production as a whole because we don't know if it's going to be Aiken or Wallace or Smith or Forsett or Allen or Gilmore or blah, 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 blah.
But they've got the weapons.
They've got enough. And all Joe Flacco does is have to step back in the pocket and throw it. He's looked good so far. He came off, the whole team came off a year devastated by injuries. I think you're going to see a turnaround. You got T. Sizzle back on the defense. We got 4,000 plus yards, career high for Joe Flacco, and they make the playoffs.
That's Joe Flacco's never thrown for 4,000.
No, he's got a 39-something season.
But this is why I like that bold prediction is because the reason he hasn't isn't a lack of skill, it's the lack of system. He's always been in a system that is, run the ball with Ray Rice or whoever.
And then throw to Anquan Bolden every 16th play.
Right, exactly. Now, Trestman is coming in. Last year, you remember Trestman didn't institute his system. This year, if he does, I love that. That's a good hot take.
All right. Well, I'm going.
We're back to Mike.
I am back up. Look, this one may not be fantasy related, but it will absolutely impact your fantasy game. That was a weird statement.
Yeah, that makes it fantasy related.
Ipso facto.
All right, start it over.
Antonio Brown will break the single season reception yard, and he will break the most yards in a single season. He's going to get over 2,000 yards. He had 136 receptions last year. Which is tied for second with Julio Jones. And I did a little bit of research for most receptions in a single year.
I got you.
I did a little research. Of the top 10 all-time single season receiving yard records, there is only one receiver who is in that list twice.
Got to be Jerry Rice.
And you would think it's the GOAT. You would think that it's Jerry Rice.
Got to be Calvin Johnson.
You think maybe it's Calvin Johnson. It's Antonio Brown. The last 2 seasons he has played were both top 10 record-breaking seasons. If you look at what he was doing, we saw Big Ben go out for a few games. So you might bake into this bold prediction that Big Ben is going to play 16 games.
Now that's a bold prediction
which
there.
may be bolder than Antonio Brown getting 2,000 yards. But if Big Ben is in there the entire season, I think that Antonio Brown has a chance to break both the single season for total receptions and for the most receiving yards, which makes Antonio Brown clearly the 101. So I guess it is fantasy related.
Well, I have to follow you. It's required. I have to follow you now. I have a very, very bold prediction, much different than yours. Julio Jones will break the single-season reception record.
You know what's crazy? Both of these could happen.
Yes, they could. Julio Jones last year, he was ahead of Antonio Brown in total yardage. The second half of the year, he paced at 1,958 total yards. I think he can get to 2,000. I think he can do it in the second year of this Kyle Shanahan offense. And you got when Matt Ryan, 10 out of 16 games last year, he threw the ball 35 or more times. We just talked about Flacco, right? Flacco threw it 41 times a game. When Matt Ryan threw it 35 or more times, his pace, Julio Jones' pace, over 2,000 yards receiving. I think he can do it in year 2. I think that they're not going to be able to stop people on defense the way they'd like to. I predict a 2,000-yard record-breaking season, and my bold prediction defeating your bold prediction.
Well, I think that's why Antonio Brown and Julio Jones in most drafts go number 1 and number 2.
I had to take Julio number 1 the other day.
You did. You sure did.
Which
in our
people are
listener
just
league.
shocked when that happens, as though they
Oh, I
didn't
know.
have an almost identical season.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
136 receptions each.
Sure. One was a little bit better, though.
I will.
Yardage-wise?
Fantasy points.
Okay.
Which
Yeah,
what
touchdowns.
and that's what matters.
No,
Okay.
yardage. I play in yardage-only leagues.
I'm gonna step up to the plate
Touchdowns
here,
don't count.
and I'm going to give the ridiculously bold prediction that Sammy Biscuits, Sam Bradford, he will start more than 16 games.
What?
This season? You see what I did there?
I
because
did.
I am saying that not
He's
only
playing in the CFL?
he will start the entire season because the Eagles will be in it. I believe they will win the NFC East, and therefore he will start in a playoff game. I realize that's ridiculously bold, and look, I think that the turning around, I think the Philadelphia Eagles defense is underrated because of the Chip Kelly system really putting them out to dry. I mean, they were just dead tired last year. They've made some good moves. I think Coach Peterson will get that defense better, and it's not just the Eagles. And I apologize.
Get that defense better.
I apologize to all the fans out there I'm about to upset. But with Tony Romo's injury, I had the Cowboys that win in this division. But with that, I don't believe in Washington. I don't believe in New York, and I don't believe in Dallas. Truly, I don't believe in Philadelphia either. But this allows the Eagles to step up. So I'm going to say he plays 16 games for the NFC East winning Eagles.
Sounds good for
Grammatically bold as well.
sounds great for Ryan Matthews.
Well done, Jason.
That is true. If that prediction comes true, Ryan Matthews will be a very nice running back to own.
All right, I'm going to give you my third one right now.
Unless they're 7-9 and win the division 7-9.
My third bold prediction for 2016 is that DeSean Jackson ends the year as a wide receiver 1.
Well, if Kirk Cousins is a top 5 quarterback,
There you go,
you're
Mike.
done shooting.
Look, last year, I know he had limited work. He was pacing for 1,000+ yards and 8 touchdowns, which sounds very familiar to the last full season that he played, in which he had over 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's looked great thus far in camp in the preseason. Kirk Cousins has found his way in the world, and the number 1 target on that team is not Pierre Garçon or Josh Doxson or Crawford or anybody. The number 1 target is DeSean Jackson. And so I think that people are afraid of him, but he always plays well. Jason said it on the show a few weeks ago or a few days ago. He just kind of always ends up. If he plays, he ends up around the wide receiver 20. He's just got to make a little bit of a leap. He can score on any play. 10+ touchdowns, baby.
So once again, the true ridiculously bold prediction is that DeSean Jackson will play 16 games.
That is right. The inferred bold predictions are maybe more bold than the real ones.
Yes. All right, I'll hit it next. Come back to me, and I will say that this ridiculously bold prediction that Jeff Fisher and the Los Angeles Rams will go 8-8.
What?
Yeah, I'm putting myself out there.
Jason, this is a hot take show. It's not nuclear.
Wait, this is your ridiculously bold
No,
prediction?
it's not. That's a guarantee. All right, my ridiculously bold prediction here is that Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers will revert to their 2014 form. And I'll tell you what, I will honestly say this. We don't remember the 2014 Carolina Panthers. We are so biased by what happened last year and their dominance that we can't even remember. So let me ask you guys, the 2014 Carolina Panthers, and specifically Cameron Newton, where did he finish fantasy quarterback?
Ooh, fantasy quarterback-wise. A low end. I'm going to go 10. Quarterback 10.
Andy?
12.
Try 17. In 2014, just 1 year removed, when he had Kelvin Benjamin and he was on the same team for the most part, he was the number 17 quarterback, and now he is guaranteed to be the number 1 quarterback in everybody's minds. I'm saying no. I'm saying they lost Josh Norman. Teams that get to the Super Bowl are notorious for having a follow-up bad season, and I'm saying that's happening.
So you don't believe he leveled up?
I don't believe he leveled up. I think that they had an incredibly efficient offense last year and that he was fantastic. I'm saying that they revert. They have some bad games that really destroy his fantasy value, and hey, that's good for the Cardinals.
You're going like in EverQuest mode here, where I think don't you lose XP?
You can lose a level.
Yeah, he lost a level.
He
gained it last year, but
all right.
That's my ridiculously bold prediction.
We've got 2 more left on the table. We've got one from the Fantasy Hitman, and we have our
the group one.
Our group one. We have our final ridiculously bold prediction.
All right, my final personal bold prediction here. I spit in the face of the news of today that Thomas Rawls is going to be the starter, and I say that Thomas Rawls cannot hold off the power. He cannot hold off the awakening. That is Christine Michael, and Thomas Rawls will lose his job. Look, I was thinking, well, how can I possibly have?
You couldn't have been thinking.
How could
at
I
any
possibly
time in
have
this prediction?
Any evidence to back this up? I'm like, you know what? I really hope that Christine Michael's had a great preseason. I bet he's near the top. He is near the top. He has the most rushing yards after 3 weeks for any running back because he has been a monster.
The Zach Zinner of 2016.
False. The Christine Michael of 2016. Thomas Rawls coming off that ankle injury. He's going to be out of shape. He cannot. I'm telling you, the awakening.
Wow.
When a man is woke, when the beast stirs, you cannot hold him down, and that is what happened. Christine Michael, a second-round draft pick. Remember this, second-round talent, but he was asleep. The Seattle Seahawks, all the coaches, they said he's asleep. He got tossed around the league.
We should also throw out there that the number 2 running back this year, so far in the preseason, just through 3 weeks, was another great running back, Malcolm Brown, for the LA Rams. Just a hair behind Christine Michael.
Well, you know who was
Malcolm Brown will be the number 1.
You know who's not number 2? Thomas Rawls, because he's not playing.
All right.
Look,
this was the most outlandish of all of them.
He's been tossed around the league like garbage.
It's funny,
right.
And now he is back.
It's not actually.
He has been recycled. He is rejuvenated, and he is ready to compete. Christine Michael will take care of Thomas Rawls.
I almost.
That sounded ominous.
One of my ridiculously bold predictions was almost that Thomas Rawls was going to be the number 1 back after week 1. So we'll see.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, look, we're having some fun on the show today. This is a great show for kind of, you're heading into your draft, and you want to see if you buy into any of these strong takes. And if you just had your draft, you're getting ready for the upcoming season. And we're having some fun. Look, we've got one more. And here's the best thing about having a podcast. I get to say whatever I want into this microphone, and you have to listen.
And generally speaking, we are carefully measured with our words.
Yes. Not this
However,
episode.
the number 1 bold prediction for 2016.
Oh, I can't sing right now. It's not happening.
David Johnson.
Yes.
David Johnson will threaten the single-season yardage mark from scrimmage, and the Cardinals will win the Super Bowl.
I didn't know we added that part.
I did add that part.
Hey, we can
if
do
I'm
whatever
getting
we
it
want.
in, I'm putting it in. Look, deal with it.
We're a week out from real football.
Deal with
This is
it.
a fun show.
This is a fun show. I've got some very astute statistical backing for this prediction.
Let's have it.
If you go all the way back from week 14 all the way to week 16, all right? So you're talking week 14.
Week 15.
Week 16.
All of those weeks.
All the way, 14 to 16. You take those numbers. You pace them out over a full season. 1,700 yards on the ground, 850 receiving. That would put him at 2,550 total yards from scrimmage and a 20 touchdown number, which puts him ahead of the all-time record, which was set by his teammate, Chris Johnson. And then Marshall Faulk is the next highest one on that list. It's going to happen. It's almost a guarantee here because of the stat backing of that prediction. David Johnson will threaten the single season yards from scrimmage.
I think that our points of why this is going to happen. Our third point here might be our strongest.
That's true. I did not read that one yet.
Our strongest piece of evidence yet.
And it's firsthand.
It's triceptual.
Yes.
It's triceptual. We saw this man's triceps up close. It sent me into a full midlife crisis immediately.
If you took my biceps and you quadrupled them, they were smaller than this man's triceps.
Then it's a tricep-based argument. David Johnson, single-season yardage record from scrimmage, and that is it. That's what you go out on that. You go out on that. So
you can put everything back in your pockets.
Did you make it through?
Barely. I can barely breathe over here.
What I'd love to hear from the listeners is which of those predictions they buy into the most. Which of those? Because, some of these are going to happen.
Yeah, all of mine.
Yeah. So, all right, that is it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow for yet another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes, on Android, wherever you're listening. And if you have any feedback for us, go over to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. And if you're drafting this weekend like we are in our League of Record, as I begin my effort to dethrone Jason from his
never gonna happen, never gonna happen. Never gonna happen, never gonna happen.
Yeah, we need it to happen.
Never happen.
It's
never happen.
Really gonna really important, as you can see. But head over, get the ultimate draft kit, prepare for your draft.
And if you're a champion like me, head over to Fantasy Jocks, get all your championship gear.
Use the code football.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.